Not exempt in this law is food and beverage. Now let me ask you something. What percent of the typical family budget would you think, or what do you think you're spending as a percent-wise on food and beverages? 10? 15? 20? Give me a number, somebody.
30%.
20%, Jimmy?
The average American spends 17% on food. That's the number that we've always taught in agriculture.
All right, well, let's round down to 15.
Okay?
Now, we're going to add 15% more to that 70% tax because the number I got mine from didn't include food. So this is probably going to be more like 80%. This is a very conservative number. When I first looked at it, I thought, that's a big number. I didn't know what the food number was. I still got a lot of questions I hadn't had time to research, but I do know one thing, that's a big jump right there. All right, what's behind this thing? Now this is interesting. I hate to read to you, but the print's small and it's important you know this. This is off the Georgia Chamber of Commerce website. After 3 years of working with Georgia General Assembly and numerous key partners, the Georgia Chamber celebrated the passage of the Transportation Investment Act of 2010. This landmark legislation has the potential to generate billions in fundings for road and bridges and other much needed infrastructure across Georgia. What I'd like to know is, who are these numerous other key partners that the Chamber's working with to develop this?
They make asphalt, I think.
Back up, please. If you want to do some research and get your own information, go to the Chamber's website. It's the Georgia Chamber of Commerce, not the local. And these are excellent summarized versions of this, and they don't have the wherewithals and the wherefores, and according to Section 5, Article 8, Item B of some other act and 9 other acts in there, and it's a lot easier to read than reading this stuff. But anyway, I would encourage you to go to the State Chamber's website and look at it, okay? Will Georgia voters go for a transportation tax? This was in the Gainesville Times, written by Tom Crawford. Business organizations like the Georgia Chamber of Commerce will raise and spend an estimated $5 million to $10 million in their efforts to persuade voters to approve the tax. Now, I tell Myrna Ballard, I've told her more than one time, I don't know how y'all can always be on the wrong side of the issue on taxes. Most business people don't advocate more taxes. Not the Chamber of Commerce. I'm telling you, if you're a member, you know what I'm talking about.
What do they hope to gain, the Chamber of Commerce, by being this way? I mean,
well, they sell the asphalt. Some member does.
I mean, they're not for the small business people.
No, I don't know. Listen,
Are they?
that's a mystery to me. I'm a member. I joined them. And I told them when I joined, I'm tired of throwing rocks at you from the outside. I want to get inside and throw rocks. And that's the truth. I'm going to meet on their transportation committee with them, and I'm going to try to convince them of what I'm trying to show you tonight with some common sense. I think this thing is way out of line. Now, this is a quote from Julianne Thompson, who is one of the head of the Tea Party movement in Georgia. She sent this out on an email, and I think it's interesting. I've known this and read it in the newspaper. Tom Donahue, U.S. Chamber, not Georgia Chamber of Commerce, spoke at the Atlanta Rotary Monday, and not only spoke poorly of the Tea Party movement, but said that they would make sure that the debt ceiling would be raised regardless of what we or the Tea Party leaders in Congress think. He then went on to say that they will get rid of all the fiscal Tea Party representatives that we just elected who are standing strong on these issues. Now, let me tell you what, the chamber means business. We lost 3 Tea Party candidates that were elected to the state representative in the reapportionment process in Georgia. Every one of them was rated a D on the chamber's rating card for representatives, and every one of them was rated down because they didn't go for regional government or tax and spend policies that the chamber believes in. So I'm telling you, it's going to be an all-out battle between the people and the chamber, whether it's state or national. Now, the local hadn't decided what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm going to try to persuade them not to support it. But if all you have to do is read what the national chairman says. One of the problems when big business gets in bed with big government and you got big cronyism, you got problems. And we've tried to keep that out of government, but it is creeping back in a big way. Attorney General Sam Olens likes the idea of a regional super mayor. Sam Olens is former chairman of the Atlanta Regional Commission. Now, the Atlanta Regional Commission is the one that runs Agenda 21 in Cobb County, where he was chairman. He sat right out here, and some of you were there, and said there was no Agenda 21 in the Georgia government or in Cobb County. I don't believe him. Now, this is the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and they said, in other words, electing a regional chair of the Atlanta Regional Commission would create a position that could be considered a metro mayor. Having someone whose constituency would be the whole 10-county region rather than just one slice of the area. Everybody complains that the ARC doesn't do enough, but now this is Sam Olens speaking, but few people have read the statute to see how little power it has, Olens said. Having someone elected from the region would be a healthy discussion. The Transportation Investment Act provides for a Transit Governance Study Commission to decide what the governing structure of the transportation industry or projects and taxes is going to be in Georgia. So I'm telling you, it's going to be big government on steroids, in my opinion. They wouldn't have put it in the act, and everybody wouldn't be jumping up and down over it if it wasn't coming. Planning, this is from the Planning and Funding Committee. 91% of operating expenses are paid by local sources. They're talking about mass transit in Atlanta. Transportation, what's the P? I forgot.
I think it's planning and budget, and that's from '07.
Yeah.
That's to show they-
Transportation Planning and Budget Committee. 91% of the operating expenses are paid by local sources, primarily coming from local general funds. The federal government is backing out of providing operating funds for transit systems. Additional sources are going to be needed to operate and maintain the current system that we have in place today, and we need to look at what funding mechanisms we can successfully implement to make up for the funding shortfalls. My concern with public transportation is that it is not a sustainable project, and I'm going to show you why in just a minute. I believe it's a rat hole. Now, that's what they called an endless, bottomless pit where I was growing up. And you can't draw water fast enough out of a well to pour in a rat hole to run them out. MARTA Chief Executive Beverly Scott warned state lawmakers Monday that even if next year's transportation referendum passes, the metro area's largest transit system will face a $2.3 billion in unfunded maintenance needs over the next decade. We do not have an answer for how long it's going to be funded, Scott said, adding that if the regional transportation plan is rejected, the agency's maintenance costs would spike to $2.9 billion, as the proposed plan includes $600 million for taking care of an aging MARTA system. Now, this will start to give you some idea of the rat hole. In the USA, the population went up 9% from 2000 to 2010. The daily rides average in the US about 11,500,000. The fare ratio across the US, 41% of the fare dollar is supplied by the person riding. The rest of it is subsidized. So you're subsidizing across nationwide 51% of everybody that rides on public transportation. Now I got to give our local county manager and city manager some credit. They took these transportation, bus and rail plans out of their plans because they know it's not sustainable. And they're not beating around the bush about it. Next. Go ahead. This is MARTA 2008, 2009, 2010. This is the operating loss, and this is depreciation losses. But that gives you an idea of kind of what you're looking at in MARTA. Hadn't made a profit, not projected to make a profit. Profit is not in their goals and future plans anywhere if you look at what they plan to do. Okay? Now this will help you get some feel, and when I went to this meeting up there, this is one of the slides I saw, and it gave me some perspective on what we're trying to do. This is population density. Hong Kong has got 367 people per square hectare. A hectare is 2.2 acres. Bombay has got 389 people. Now I've been to Hong Kong and it's like this. I mean, it's vertical. Atlanta has 6 people. Hello? Do you see what the problem is with public transportation? You got to have population density. Next slide. This will give you some idea. This is population going up, distance going this way. This is 30 kilometers over here. This is the center of the city. It's done in a circle. Over to 30 kilometers on all these slides. So this is the best looking city up there, high population, narrow area. Okay? These are some cities in Europe. This is some cities in the United States. This is New York, Los Angeles, Atlanta. Now, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. I'd say a picture here is worth about $10 million. Now, this is what I grew up and my dad called pushing a rope. You can push on it all you want to, but you're not going to get it to go anywhere. When you've got this kind of population distribution and you're trying to move people by rail and by bus, go to the next slide. This is what you run into. This is the footprint of Atlanta, 1990 population, 2.5 million people, 4,280 square kilometers. Barcelona, Spain, 2.8 million people, 162 square kilometers. Barcelona, Spain, Atlanta, Georgia. To get the same service in Atlanta that they're providing in Barcelona, you'd have to build 2,113 more miles of rail and you'd have to build 2,800 more stations. Is that giving you perspective? Now, one thing about government, they don't let this kind of stuff bother them. They're still convinced we can run this country off of solar energy, even though it gets dark every night. So, don't forget what you're dealing with now. I mean, it beats all I've ever seen to think that we're going to go to solar and it gets dark every night. Again, this will help you understand what's driving this stuff in Georgia and the challenges they face. This map, this is population density. This is distance going out to 70 kilometers. If you'll notice, most of the population is in here between 13 and 30. In this area, the red is MARTA rail, the blue is the bus system. 56% of the people had access to transportation in 1990, 44% didn't. 44% didn't. This is in 1998. The inner city lost people and they lost jobs. The bus system is still working here. Now, only 23% of the people have access. It was twice that. The population shift, now you can't shift them rail lines when your population shifts. And a guy up there told me, the county commissioner said, with a contract they've got with MARTA, if they've got an area falling off in transportation, they can't take those drivers and take them across town and put them over there where it's growing, because their salary goes up about 50% if they move them. So they got to stay there and run them empty buses for it to work. Now this is Atlanta population and transit. This is in 1999, 1 year later. This is where the population lives, and this is what the transit serves. 2% of the public the people are being served by rail, 13% by bus, 85% nothing. Who benefits from the $6 million campaign that the chamber's doing? You got advantaged property owners and business owners, financial banks, construction and transit unions, engineering and architectural companies, equipment manufacturers, politicians, and a few riders. No more than 15% of the population. In fact, they even went so far in the meeting I was in, they said, look, this is selective. This is not a public service project because it's serving so few people. Now, I'm going to tell you some interesting statistics. Siemens manufactures rail cars. On June the 8th, 2001, the Siemens Corporation had 250 attendees to the Metro Atlanta Northern Crescent Transit Summit at the Cobb Galleria, and they had the 250 movers and shakers in the transit and political industry there promoting mass transit. They make 1/3 of the light rail cars that are used in America. Andy Mackey, chairman of the Greater North Fulton County Chamber of Commerce, is Comcast, that's the company up there. They make vans and other transportation materials. He's the Fulton County chairman of of Fulton County Chamber of Commerce, and he's Comcast Vice President of Governmental Affairs, and he's promoting the use of their vans and small vehicles in public transit. Rob Garcia is the Cobb County Chamber of Commerce Chairman, and he's President and Chief Operating Officer of the Bank of North Georgia that wants to finance these things. When you start going down the list and looking, you can see who's interested in this.